I saw people who were working hard and they're walking around all day, but they weren't doing effective work. They weren't hustling effectively. And, they got tired and got burned out and went home. But if you're hustling, means that you were efficient. You got on a door at a certain time. You knew your messaging. You practiced before you got there. And you found out when things are not going to work. This episode is brought to you in part by Sales Success Summit. If you're a sales rep and you're looking for ways to improve your skills, you want to learn from the top 1% of sellers, you need to attend Sales Success Summit. The event is held this year, October 14th through 15th in Austin, Texas. To find more information, visit the show notes or go to top1summit.com. Again, top1summit.com. This episode is also brought to you in part by TSE Certified Sales Training Program. Learn how to find more ideal customers, build stronger value, close more deals. There are 12 modules available in the program. The first 2 modules are absolutely free. Test them out for yourself. Go to thesalesevangelist.com/free course. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist podcast. I'm your host, Donald Kelly, the Sales Evangelist. And I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. And on this episode, we have a unique episode because I am being interviewed by my friend, Fred Diamond. Fred has a podcast as well called Sales Game Changers. And he invited me to be a guest on his show. And I am super excited, super grateful. But what we decided to do was to take that episode and also to share it with you because I thought it would be beneficial considering this month we're focusing on sales leaders. Fred runs an organization where he's a co-founder. It's called the Institute for Excellence in Sales. He works with sales reps and sales leaders all over the country, and he pours in so much wisdom in the Institute as well as with these podcast guests that he had. So I figured, you know what, let's take the conversation and bring it to you guys as well. Hope you enjoy this little gift.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Sales Game Changers podcast, the award-winning Sales Game Changers podcast. A couple times a week, we talk to a sales leader about their career, get some tips for how you can take your sales career to the next level. I'm very excited. Today we're talking to Donald Kelly. He's the Sales Evangelist. Donald, it's great to have you on the Sales Game Changers podcast. I've been on your show a couple years ago. You're a celebrity in the sales performance improvement world, so I'm thrilled to have you here. Why don't you tell us a little bit about you that we need to know?
Well, I appreciate you having me, Fred. Thank you so much. And I know this has been on a waiting list for a while now, but I missed an opportunity last year. I'm grateful that we were able to do that this year. And for me, like what's something that I would like, as far as a little bit more about me, I have a podcast, like you mentioned, Sales Evangelist podcast, and that's dedicated towards helping new and struggling sellers to improve their sales game. Because when I started off selling, I was one of those individuals that I had a passion and desire, but I sucked at what I was doing. I did well in B2C, but when I came to the B2B world, it was a different game for me, and it was just really difficult. So I started the podcast as a means of being able to educate those individuals that were in the same shoes I was, and to help them to elevate their game as well. So that's a little bit more.
Very good. So tell us a little more about what you offer. I know you have the podcast, Of course, but do you also do training, consulting? What types of things do you do as a business?
Yeah. So naturally, as a podcast started to grow, I started to get individuals that reach out to me for coaching. So I started to do individual one-on-one coaching, and that was fun doing that with reps. But then obviously, when the business side came from it, these reps would bring it back to companies. And then I started getting entrepreneurs who wanted to develop their sales. And some of them these were the solopreneurs, those guys who are selling, or maybe they're making $500,000 a year, close to $1 million, but they wanted to replicate themselves. So they said, can you come in and do some consulting for us and show us what we need to do to create a sales force and help set that stuff up? So I started doing a couple of those, and then that started to grow as well. And then naturally, the speaking opportunity came from it. Mm-hmm. And it just started making sense for me after doing this for several years. In 2015, I left the full-time gig to do the podcasting and all of that. So the business side of the podcast didn't make money per se, but it led to leads and opportunities for coaching and speaking and consulting. And now the podcast is a means of generating its own income as well, and to take care of his own expenses.
That's great. And actually, we're doing today's interview at the show floor of the Podcast Movement 2019.
Yeah.
You're the host of the keynote, so that's always very, very cool. So it's great to be talking to you here. So tell us how you first got into sales as a career.
It was in college. I was even prior to college, but I started, everyone in my family did something towards sales. Growing up as a Jamaican boy, everybody has something. So I saw it as in my family, and I didn't see it as sales. It was a business. It's a business. You're a businessman if you sell something, man. So I wanted to, and I'm outgoing, and people always said, man, you'll be perfect for sales. So then I started doing a little bit of stuff and then went into college. And then that's where everyone was like, you definitely need to be in sales. But none of the universities didn't have any sales program.
Yeah, where'd you go to school?
Brigham Young. It was at Brigham Young University, Idaho campus. So ate a lot of potatoes. But so my friends were telling me I should consider doing this. So I went and got a couple of sales jobs. I worked in a Dish Network facility office where we called out over the phone. And then I started to do timeshare presentations where we're getting people doing the SDR work and getting people to timeshare. And then I went and did door-to-door security sales and did server job as well. So all of these things were more of like the entertaining the one-on-one with the individual, the consumer, and did pretty darn well at that. In the summer sales, I made like $20,000 in 3 months doing door-to-door. And that was a low end. That was my first year doing it. And I did it for 1 year. I needed to get money for a non-paid intern. So that was the B2C side, and did well with it. And then I worked for an IT training company, and they dabbled in both sides. We sold to the consumer as well as we sold to the businesses. And that's when I started to get into the professional world of selling. And it was hard.
Very good. So we've had a number of sales game changers that we've interviewed for the podcast, and a couple of them have started in door-to-door, grind it out, selling various types of things. Why don't you tell us some of the key lessons you learned from some of those first few sales jobs that have stuck with you?
One of the things that I learned, especially doing door-to-door security, is not necessarily hard work, but working smart and being very, I guess, because I just don't want, and I guess I'll use a hustle. I know the word is tossed around so much now it kind of gets watered down, but I saw people who were working hard and they're walking around all day, but they weren't doing effective work. They weren't hustling effectively, and they got tired and got burned out and went home. But if you're hustling, means that you were efficient. You got on a door at a certain time. You knew your messaging. You practiced before you got there, and you found out when things are not going to work, and you don't try to make it. In the door-to-door security world, it's a one-shot hit. It's a one-hit wonder, man. If I knock on your door, I have 45 minutes. The idea of me coming back to you, if I was to do that all day long, just go back to all of these houses, I would never make any sales. So if it doesn't work, I need to move on to the next one. And it taught me that I just need to be efficient and I need to hustle. And that was one of the biggest things I took. So when I came to the B2B side and I started doing some BDR work for a software company and I was in inside sales, I just knew that I needed to not just sit here and just loathe over, I'm just going to keep calling this guy over and over and over and over again. It's like, I'm going to call them, but I just need to recognize when something is not going to work and I need to move on and just be efficient and to hustle. And planning was a key thing too, coming in from that side of the world, because it was a full commission job. Right? It was like, your morning time, we do a meeting at 10 o'clock, you drive and you get out by like 11 midday and you go until the evening time. So if during that time period, it's my game time. And I'm not going to stop and go on Facebook or sit down and play Angry Birds. Maybe I did every once in a while, but you're out there and your time is money because it's full commission. If you need to pay rent.
Absolutely. So Donald, a lot of people follow you on the internet, on Facebook and LinkedIn and other places. You have a very, very popular show. So a lot of people probably view you as a mentor, but why don't you tell us about a mentor or two that has impacted your sales career?
Yeah. One of the mentors that helped me, his name is Steve Hatch. And Steve Hatch, he's actually local here in Orlando. And he took me under his wing, that IT training company. He was the CEO of the company, and he had to do the sales. And he brought me in, again, my personality. He thought that would help, but realized, you need a lot more than just personality. So Steve brought me in, but he taught me not only the sales side, but taught me the business, helped me to understand business acumen, and threw me into some deep ends, right? And one of those deep ends was I did a little bit of marketing with him, but we were trying to figure out a deal with local NPR station, and he helped me to be able to lead that and to negotiate and to work with NPR as far as this deal. He stood afar off, but it was a great mentor. And also he affiliated with my church as well, so he was like a leader in that sense. and was a father figure in my life. And he helped me to recognize the type of individuals that I could grow up to become.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he helped me with that a lot. So from the sales, the business acumen, as well as just an individual, not to be a nuisance to society.
That's great. Speaking of the individual, you just became a father as well. So
I did, yeah.
Congratulations.
2 weeks today after recording, 2 weeks ago.
That is great. So it's probably been about 2 months ago when the show comes out. But so, you deal with a lot of sales professionals and a lot of people who aren't necessarily sales professionals. But when you think about the sales professionals that you work with, what are the two biggest challenges that you think they're faced with right now?
I would say the two biggest challenges I feel that sales reps are facing with, a lot of the ones that I meet with in the small companies, is prospecting and prospecting effectively. Because, I feel a lot of people are pulled in different worlds. They're told that cold calling is dead, but when you work with a lot of small companies, the CEOs of those companies, that's how they built the darn thing. Yep. So they're saying you need to do cold calling, you need to do, go that route. And then the social aspect is like, it's putting yourself out on social media. It's hard to do that. And I think sometimes people don't have the confidence to do it effectively. So they will wait for the inbound leads. And we're taught that, if you do the content, then inbound's going to come. And it's true. Some of that stuff does happen. But I feel that a lot of the sales rep that I work with on a day-to-day basis, it's prospecting. I am constantly trying to give them ideas and to give them training about how to utilize LinkedIn and how to do that effectively, or how to take advantage of cadences and set up a flow. We call them, the flow process of outreach.
Let's talk about prospecting for a second then. Again, you're an expert on that. That's what a lot of people engage you for. Sure. Give us a tip or two on something that's top of mind that you believe people should be thinking about as they prospect.
It's the multi-channel outreach. I think to talk to, what's the name from Outreach.io the other day, and his term is the omni-channel approach. And what I feel with that, what I teach when I work with these sales reps, I try to encourage them to start the game off on social media to make that interaction and to connect with people, like genuine connection. And I'm not talking about liking somebody's thing. I'm talking about engaging. Like, for instance, I did a post the other day, it was actually last night, and about role playing. And now I had a couple people that came on to that. I'm taking a conversation from the stream into the inbox and started to say, hey, thank you so much, Fred, for commenting on my post. Love the comment. Would love to connect. And once it connect, now I can take that conversation to a phone call, because that phone call makes it so much more warmer and engaging. And then I take advantage of utilizing, depending on the type of product the organization is selling. If it's like something like it's going to be simple, like, a software, $10 a month, it doesn't make sense to do that. But for some of the bigger things, enterprise sales, what we have seen is to utilize the snail mail in that process as well, to grab the attention. So I will send something into the snail mail, maybe 3 days later, that grabs your attention, that cues it up for my cold call.
So do you just physically mail it, or do you Federal Express, or what do you do?
Physical USPS.
Okay.
And you can take advantage of some of those flat rate boxes, depending on what you're doing. So one of the clients, I'll give you an example with this, they were trying to get demonstration. They were in the behavioral health space, and their sales rep were doing a lot of the cold calls alone, and they weren't doing a multi-channel approach. And that wasn't working too well. So we said, okay, let's try an experiment. So what we did was said, let's get a box. And we created a ticket, like a Willy Wonka ticket. And it was like, join us for a demo. It was like a movie ticket. And then we gave them popcorn. I spoke to their receptionist, spoke to Heineck, the cartoonist. He has a book, but he's really big on utilizing the snail mail. So we wowed him and sent, one of them found out they like Coke products, and lucky it didn't explode, but we sent him a Diet Coke in the mail. And then Diet Coke, the popcorn, the Orville popcorn, and Swedish fish. And then we found out his receptionist, the one that gave us some information, what kind of stuff he likes. We put 2 Starbucks $5 gift card. It was about $12 for this box altogether. So we did a bunch of these. And then they were able to land 3 of the 12 from this experiment that came on. And that was about $100,000 deals that they were able to close recurring revenue annually. From just doing 3 boxes.
The key issue again is, how do you get through? There's a bigger challenge than ever to get through, as people don't return your phone calls. They don't take the calls. People aren't always, it's very, very difficult to get through. So you're going back to snail mail to get through, to get those meetings. Donald, you've had a great career in sales. You've had a lot of success. Before we take a short break and listen to one of our sponsors, why don't you tell us about your biggest success that you're most proud of?
The biggest success.
Besides your new baby.
Oh, yeah. And Christina. Hi, darling. The biggest success I would share was when I was working in the software space. We were selling to city, county governments, K-12. This was the biggest average deal size that I was working on was about $30,000, maybe $50,000. This one client, I went in and it was like the perfect sales situation where you found one individual and then that person was able to, it was our champion. We worked with a champion for about 6 months and nothing happened. Then finally came to an opportunity. We found other people in the organization. He broke it out. And then we started to do the consulting type of selling with multiple departments. And then we started to uncover the pain and the difficulties. And it was like the perfect scenario, Fred. And then from that standpoint, we created case study from it because we wanted to make sure, because this was going before the board. So it was like presentation after presentation. And we were able to secure this deal. And it was multi-six-figure deal that I was able to help bring into the organization. And it just worked out perfect from the start to building relationship, getting referrals in and networking all the way down to conversion and then upselling afterwards. And it was fantastic.
Hey, we're going to take a quick break, but when we get back, I'm going to talk about 2 biggest challenges that I faced today as a sales leader. Maybe this is the same challenge you're facing. Well, you're going to have to come back and listen to what those challenges are. You're listening to the Sales Evangelist podcast, and I'm your host, Donald Kelly, the Sales Evangelist. This episode is brought to you in part by Sales Success Summit. This is an event put on by my friend Scott Ingram in Austin, Texas this year, October 14th through the 15th. Scott has a podcast where he interviews some of the most successful sales reps in the entire country. These sales reps are the top 1%ers, and it's cool to figure out and to hear from them what makes them in this top echelon of sales reps. The conference is really unique too. You get a chance to interact and network and learn. One of the attendees last year, name is James Chrisman. Now here's what James did. He built a network at the event. He worked for a small company in Chicago and then turned around, landing a job at Teradata in San Diego just because of going to the event. Fast forward to today, just finished up his first full year, and guess what? He closed his first multi-six-figure commission deal. You can't make this stuff up. I highly recommend you check out the event. Find all the details in the show notes or go to top1summit.com. Again, top1summit.com. This episode is also brought to you in part by TSE Certified Sales Training Program. When I was a young sales rep and I had a difficult time closing the deal, a horrible time interacting with strong, confident buyers or just didn't know what questions to ask, I went through a training program and then I learned all the fundamentals and it was like magic. All of a sudden, the planets aligned and my performance went out the roof. I started to close some pretty decent sized deal, making some good money. And this is why I created TSE Certified Sales Training Program. I know that there's sellers out there, sales reps who are struggling at times, don't know what to do. Management probably don't have time to train them. Take part in TSE Certified Sales Training Program. We have the first 2 modules open for free. You can check it out. If you like it, you can get the other 10 modules, and we would love to have you join us for our group discussions each week. Find all the details by going back to the show notes or simply going to thesalesevangelist.com/free course. Again, thesalesevangelist.com/free course. Hey, we're back. Now, when we pick up here, I'm going to go into this question that Fred asked. He wanted to figure out what were the 2 biggest struggles I face today as a sales leader. Yeah, this is a good one. My answer is, well, you just have to listen.
All right, we're back with Donald Kelly. He's the Sales Evangelist. Donald, why don't you give us a tip for the sales game changers listening around the globe to take their careers to the next level?
Great question on this one. I find this one, and I know this is what I use a lot of books. I read a lot of books and try to improve my game. One of my favorite books recently is Mike Weinsberg's Sales Management Simplified. Mm-hmm. And what the whole book, from if anyone ever read any of Mike's book, what he always goes back to is the fundamentals. He always seems to just go back to the fundamentals. And for me, I think right now more than ever, as far as sales reps taking their game to the next level, is really mastering those things. And I feel the biggest part, besides prospecting, is asking appropriate questions. Questions that will get down to the heart and questions that will get to real issues. Because I feel, especially with the folks that I work with, a lot of them who are coming from the tech space and they're pushing like software, it's really just like, hi, Fred, demo, and try to try to get something there.
Show up and throw up.
Yeah, and those demos, they go nowhere. I have a client right now that I'm working with, and it was absolutely amazing, Fred. The amount of freaking proposals or demonstrations that they have a proposal. I'm like, yes, this looks amazing looking at their pipeline. But it was all just like for show because none of those, they knew nothing about the individuals. They knew nothing about the problem. And I think that's what we're skipping that process, that part just a little bit. If there's one thing I feel any sales rep can master is mastering discovery, mastering asking meaningful questions that's going to really show your expertise and coming prepared to ask those questions. I'm not talking about surface level crap like saying, you sell a time management software. I want to know, understanding that right now, time management is one of the biggest issues going on, blah, 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 and especially in your industry, the regulatory changes. What are you guys doing to fix that?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's good stuff, man. Why don't you tell us about a selling habit that you have that has led to your continued success?
Planning. And I'm going to give you this. I'm even working on, I created a book for it because I couldn't find a planner that could do it. There's one side of it, and you and I are doing video right now, and people, they can't see us, but one side of it, it was like the day-to-day planner where it broke it down into from 6 a.m., I think like 5 a.m. start in morning to about 8 p.m. in evening. And it's broken up into 30-minute blocks. Read a book by Kevin Cruz called 15 Secrets Successful People Know About Time Management. And then another book was The 12-Week Year. Fantastic book. So, but what I was doing, and I see what a lot of sales reps do, is it's like we take all of our things that in our mind that we need to do, say 15, 20 things that we need to do for the day. And the ones who plan, they may just take those and just like throw as many of them as they can up on a calendar, maybe. So, but it just wasn't fitting right for me. So what I started to do, I started to break down my day based on categories to see what I'm doing was effective. In my role as a business owner, I have sales activities, some marketing activity and operations and stuff like that. So I started to figure out what was I doing on a day-to-day basis. So I track all of those tasks for like a week, and I can see where I have commonality, what task I'm doing over and over and over again, and the ones that I don't need to do. I eliminate the ones that I don't need to do, get my team to do that, and then focus on the sales-related ones. So then now on my day-to-day task, each morning I sit down, or each day before that's the end of the day, I put down what do I need to get done for tomorrow based on categories that I need to focus on, and then I take those tasks and put them on the planner. So then now everything that's on the planner has to be meaningful towards the end result. And then I have to tie to my KPIs. So then at the end of the day, I'm judging my day to say I had 15 tasks that I needed to get done today. I got 14 out of the 15. So I had a 90%-ish, 93%. I had a good day, an A. But if I get anything lower than like a C, something went really wrong. And I feel that many of our sales reps, what happened is that we willy-nilly each day, because we follow, and Mike talks a lot about this too, where we follow based on what the CRM tells us the task, as opposed to do we be in charge and to take control and have meaningful activities for each and every hour of the day. And that's what I say.
Donald, that's great. Donald, before we ask you for your final tip for the sales game changers listening around the globe, I want to go back to something you said before. You mentioned preparation.
Yeah.
So give us an idea or two on how the sales game changers listening to the podcast need to think about preparation. What's a tip or two that you would suggest to help them be more prepared as they go in for the sales call?
Yeah, 3 minutes. You need to have 3-minute prep. Don't try to go too far than that. And if at all possible, right now we live in a global world. So if you have a focus list of clients that you're trying to get access to, maybe you can find somebody on Upworks or whatnot to outsource to say, I want you to go do some research on these people and come back with some information. But then now you can take that information, also your LinkedIn information, have 3 understanding. How does this company that I'm calling in to make money? What challenges that they may have that I probably have not necessarily, or that they probably not even aware of. And that's simply, you can do that through a Google search, right? Through the industry. You can find industry-related magazine. And especially if you're focusing, I like to make our clients have their reps focus on industries so they can become proficient at that. And then now you can find out what are some of the common challenges that they're facing. And then understanding how does this person's role, how do they help the company make money, right? So you're understanding what the company does, challenges the companies may face. And because if you understand what the challenges the company or industry may be facing, you can automatically tie your solution probably to that. And then you can understand how Fred is affected by that, how Fred's role makes money for that organization. If I can make Fred looks good and solve that problem for that organization, I'm in a good situation.
That is such a great bit of advice there, Donald. One thing we keep hearing on the Sales Game Changers podcast is if you can help your customer achieve his or her goals, you're so much further down the path. It's not about you. It really is about what your customer is trying to do for their customers.
Yeah.
So, Donald, it's been great having you on the Sales Game Changers podcast. We've been friends for a couple of years now. It's great to talk to you in some more detail. I love following you. I love what you say out there. I love the advice that you're giving to the sales professionals who are seeking your assistance. Why don't you give us one final thought to inspire the sales game changers listening around the globe today?
The final thought that I would give, and it's something that I believe strongly in, is that everyone have a problem. Every organization out there have some kind of problem. Your prospects do. Somebody is going to solve that problem for them. Why not you? Why not you take the advantage, go the high road, figure this out first, and be the first one to solve the problem? And if you do that, you stand out more than anybody else.
And that is a great bit of advice. The great sales professionals are always thinking about the customer.
Yeah.
They're always a few steps ahead. Donald, this has been great. What's the best way for the audience to reach you?
The easiest way to get a hold of me is to go to LinkedIn.
Okay.
Plain and simple. Donald C. Kelly. Everything else will flow from there.
Very good.
And I'll connect with you there personally and chat with you.
And we'll have a link to your LinkedIn profile on the show notes. Again, we transcribe every Sales Game Changers podcast episode. So you can find the complete transcription at www.salesgamechangerspodcast.com/Donald Kelly, DonaldKelly, salesgamechangerspodcast.com/Donald Kelly. To subscribe, please go to the Apple Podcast Store, Stitcher, Spotify. Yesterday, they said, don't say wherever you get your podcast, but it's still part of our script. Wherever it is you get your podcast, you can probably find this one on YouTube as well. If you are a subscriber to the Apple Sales Game Changers, Sales Game Changers podcast, please go up to the Apple Podcast Store, give us a 5-star rating, say something nice. That's still important.
Yes.
So we would greatly appreciate that. Again, for more information on our sponsor, the Institute for Excellence in Sales, go to i4espd.com, i4espd.com or .org. Again, I want to thank Donald Kelly for the great insights today. Donald, thank you very much. My name is Fred Diamond. I'll go out there and go sell.
Man, I'm telling you, this was fun. I love getting on the other side of the line, the other side of the table, and being interviewed. And Fred, he is one of those world-class individuals, run a fabulous organization, and I would highly recommend you go and check them out. Find information in the show notes, thesalesevangelist.com/the-word episode number 1171. Again, thesalesevangelist.com/the-word episode number 1171. Tell Fred you heard about him on the Sales Evangelist podcast. Go ahead and subscribe to his podcast as well, Sales Game Changers. They're changing the game, man. Good stuff. Also, to connect with him on LinkedIn, you can also find him on Facebook as well as in our Facebook group, The Sales Evangelizers. Listen, our team here at The Sales Evangelist, we share stuff like this because we want to help you. Our goal is to help you do 3 things: find more ideal customers, build stronger value, and close more deals. And the bonus is, we want to challenge you. I personally want to challenge you each and every single day to go out and do big things.
Hey, listen, I hope you enjoyed the episode today as much as I did. And if so, I ask that you go ahead and leave us a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, or wherever you listen to fine podcasts. It goes a long way. This is my birthday month, man. And if I could get some more of you leaving your testimonial about how you love the show, that'll make me feel really happy. It would be an awesome birthday gift. And to top it off, I'm going to pick a few of them and read them on one of our upcoming episodes. How about that? I appreciate you. Our show today was produced by myself and the Sales Podcast Network. It was edited and mixed together by the one and only Jershino Bale. Our guest correspondent is May Marr. Our amazing artworks are created by Dessen. Our show note were created by Rael. And our podcast production manager is Mrs. Shannon Rasmussen. You can find audio credits in each of our show notes. And as always, I am your host, your coach, your mentor, your guide down the sales journey, Mr. Donald C. Kelly, the Sales Evangelist. Sales Podcast Network.